All right, Mike. Well, I appreciate you being able to hop on this evening with me, and we can talk some film. And I saw you released a video today, uh, uh, a Sylvester Stallone classic. Uh, and so, can you talk a little bit about that for me? Just kind of like, you know, the movie itself or the Blu-ray box set, and just what a little bit just about it in
Yeah,
general.
yeah. It's just it's a Rambo set. Rambo
Hmm.
1, 2, and 3, the original classic ones. Um, I got that recently because I had never had any. I had the first Rambo, but not the other two. So and I found it really cheap for all three on Blu-ray, so I went ahead and got that, and thought that was
Now,
something pretty cool. And they looked good too. I mean, it's an older collection of them. I mean, it's
mhm.
older by saying 10 years maybe, but you know, I think there's another set out previous newer than that one, but to me it's new. So
Sure.
yeah,
So with that, you said it's one, two, and three. Now I have to say, I remember part one, obviously very well. Then two and three, I have to be honest, I have to go back and revisit because they kind of run together a little bit, like what exactly happens. I think
yeah,
so, and then of course, part was it John Rambo is really part four, which is he's in Burma, and
yeah,
then part five again, and that's one I think is called Rambo or I can't remember
yeah,
Last Blood or something.
yeah. I haven't
And
seen that one yet.
yeah, well, you're not missing anything. It's it's like Home Alone. It's like Rambo versus Home Alone and Rambo together. It's
Yeah,
honestly like Kevin Arnold gave him a game plan, and he took Kevin Arnold's attack mode against the Wet Bandits, and he used it
yeah,
against the Mexican cartel or whatever. So yeah, it was
yeah,
not that great. So,
yeah,
do you remember the first time you remember watching Rambo, the first movie?
yeah. In the '80s, First Blood, and uh, I remember three a lot because it was on TV a lot, like
Yeah.
1988 and stuff. Probably, 19. The third one is like he's called in to help the Russians, help or not help the Russians, but help his colonel, Richard Crenna, who was in the other two, get him
Hmm.
rescued from the Russians. And basically, part two is also to get some POWs out. And of course, we know the first one, the classic, which is the best
Right.
one of all. So
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that movie. My dad was obviously a huge action movie fan, and so he didn't care what we watched. If he was watching it, he didn't. We just sat down with him and we watched whatever. And we all know the Rambo movies are pretty up there on the violence level, and so
yeah,
a lot of gunplay and all that. So knife get their head. I remember him being like in the mud. I think it's in part two maybe, and and he like comes out of the mud with the Rambo knife and cuts the dude's
yeah,
throat. And I remember thinking like, man, that's so ba. Like
yeah,
like that's just so epic. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, before he does that, it's like it shows him like in the water, and he's like he touches the mud with his hand. He's like, oh, and then the next scene you see him, he's all covered in mud, and he comes out like that. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of with the big knife, and he gets him and stuff. It's like, oh, mud, I can, oh. and
Yeah.
it cuts
Never
right
thought.
to him jumping out of. It's like,
Well, it's funny
yeah,
because if you fast or you rewind that years prior, Arnold Schwarzenegger does the same thing in Predator. You know,
oh
he
yeah,
he he puts all the mud on so the predator can't see the heat,
yeah,
can't sense the heat or whatever from him, and he like
yeah,
hides in the wall of the cave or whatever against some kind of embankment, and then he's
yeah,
able to hide and so it kind of
yeah,
plays into that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost
So
exactly the same.
yeah. So I was gonna ask you if you've seen this movie. I picked it up recently on Blu-ray. I watched it probably about a year ago. It completely flew under the radar. We're gonna pivot a little bit away from what we initially talked about, but I just wanted to see what your thoughts were because he is a director who's done. I feel like you really like his style directed. He kind of in that same vein when you think of Quentin Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez or Kevin Smith. Like when you see his movies, you're like, that's the guy. You know, you can tell his movies immediately, and based on dialogue, based off of just like even pop culture references as well. He's very big about that. It is Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman.
Oh, okay.
Have you
Yeah, I
ever
haven't
seen
seen
this?
that. No, I've never seen that.
Okay. So as you
But
probably are well aware, Guy Ritchie's done tons of British type movies. You have Snatch and Lock, Stock, and
yeah,
Two Smoking Barrels. He's done
yeah,
The Kingsman, things like that. And so you
yeah.
have quite a few of his films are out there. But I picked up this. I got this. I picked it up. I rented it a year ago or so, and I had never even heard of it. I didn't even know it existed. It was completely, I guess, under the radar. But if you look here, the all-star cast. I mean, you have Hugh Grant, you have Matthew McConaughey, you have Charlie Hunnam, who was in Sons of
Oh,
Anarchy. He played Jack,
yeah.
whatever. Maybe I don't know if it's Jack,
Jax.
but
It was like Jax.
right. And then there's a handful of other people you'd recognize. But I mean, this movie is Colin Farrell also is in here, and so let me ask you: since obviously maybe you haven't seen this movie in particular, have you seen some of those other movies I mentioned? And if you have, what's your thoughts about Guy Ritchie and that kind of like? I always feel like he's kind of like the British version of Quentin Tarantino in some respects.
Yeah, he's similar to that. He also did those Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which were pretty good. Yeah, he's got a pretty good style to him. Snatch was really
I think
good.
he also did Robin Hood, the remake of Robin Hood a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I don't know. I can't.
He also did The Beach, I believe. Was that Danny Boyle who did The Beach?
Oh, that was Danny Boyle did that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was close though, but
yeah, they're both British, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he was part of those directors that kind of came out like in 90 early 90-ish, 95, and so you'd kind of put him in that graduating class of like 92, like with Tarantino. So yeah, I think he's right up there with, he's one of the best British guys, stuff.
Do you enjoy it when you watch a movie that's almost exclusively, at least to me, feels like it is very British? Like Woody Allen's movies are very New York. Like you can watch a Woody Allen movie and not enjoy it, maybe because you don't understand the references. It's kind of like Seinfeld, very New York, a lot of New York references. Guy Ritchie films, almost all of them take place on the south side of London or like London Underground with gangsters and all this kind of stuff. So when you watch a movie that has almost exclusively a probably an area you're unfamiliar with, can you enjoy it as much as a movie that like takes place in a very normal part of America that you can kind of just like you've seen 1,000 times or about it, or do you feel like a little bit detached from it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's cool to give everybody a new place to go to. To see the different areas and stuff. Even if it's filmed on a sound stage or something, but it's still it's kind of cool to see that flip side to say a Tarantino kind of American flick, flip side to that, kind of similar but not similar. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I do, and for me as a film connoisseur or whatever aficionado, I like to be taken to a place that maybe I'm never gonna see or I'll never fully understand. And even though it's obviously very stylized and very romanticized, like the British Underground, like we're talking about The Gentleman or like Snatch or Lock and Stock and those kind of movies where there's a definite underbelly that I think, at least I can speak for myself, I will never truly understand or even comprehend. I like to be transported to that place because I think it's, to me, very foreign, not just because it's a foreign film, but it's a foreign concepts I would never even think about.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So what about you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I was just agreeing with you. I don't know if you can hear my
So
dog in the background, but
yeah, it's fine. My
he
cats
sees
are
the
outside
cat.
trying to get in, so it's fine.
Yeah, he saw the cat and he acts like he's never seen it before or something. But
Yeah, it's the first time.
yeah,
So is there? I don't know if you heard this. Like I said, I like to kind of jump around. Today was all the news, all the rage. I don't know if you caught this, but apparently, Clerks 3 is starting to be filmed next month. I'm assuming you've seen part 1 and 2 at some point in your
oh yeah,
life.
oh yeah.
With that being said, do you think it's a good idea to go back to the well one more time? What's your thoughts at this point? Where are you at with that?
I don't know. I mean, Kevin Smith, I guess ever since he lost so much weight, I mean, it's not like a visual thing, but it's just I don't know, he's kind of lost some of his edge a little bit. He was kind of edgy, back in the day and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I don't know. I mean, part two was, the second one was okay, I guess. I mean, it wasn't bad. I think I need to watch it some more. I haven't seen it as nearly as many times as the first one, but like the first one just kind of all it's all its own thing. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they shouldn't have done it the second time, but I don't know. It's kind of cool to bring those characters from, you know, maybe it doesn't have to be Clerks. I mean, maybe they could bring the same people back and do a different story, but it's probably gets greenlit if you put, Clerks on there, instead of just
Oh, sure.
saying, different story. But I don't know. But I don't know. I'll definitely be interested in it because I like Kevin Smith, or have liked him. I don't know. He's kind of lost me a little bit along the way, just a little bit, just with different projects that were just kind of like,
You
there's the
mean
classic Kevin Smith and then the newer Kevin Smith projects, which he's kind of all over the map, you know.
yeah, I don't. I never really understood. I mean, like I've seen. I think all of his uh, movies that weren't your typical View Askew films. Like I've seen
Mhm.
Tusk. I saw Yoga Hosers. Trying to think, there was something else somewhere in there. I think too. Red State, which I really liked. Red State. I thought
Oh
that was a
yeah,
good
Red
one.
State. Yeah, no,
I
that
thought
was
Red
good.
State was.
I've seen Tusk, and I haven't seen the Yoga Hosers though, but so
Yeah,
I
Tusk
know.
was okay. Yoga Hosers was awful. I think it was just an opportunity for him to put his daughter in a movie.
Yeah,
And then Johnny Depp's daughter also, because apparently they're like best friends in real life, or they were. I don't know if they still are. And so
yeah,
that was a way to shoehorn Johnny Depp to be in the movies because he shows up in his like Canadian trilogy, he calls it. So he plays a character. Johnny Depp's in all three movies as some kind of like French Canadian, uh, like sleuth or something, like detective or whatever. So
yeah,
he plays some kind of over the top character. He gets to wear makeup and prosthetics, and so I don't really know, but it
yeah,
was I thought Tusk had some interesting stuff going on in it, but this
yeah,
just the payoff at the end was just like, wow. He gave you exactly what you'd expect. He gave you
yeah,
exactly what it was. I mean, he did not hold back on the ridiculousness that you'd expect it was going to be.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
I'll have to check it out. But the newer one that I haven't looked at it yet. Was well, what is it? Oh, name me a
the
couple of them.
reboot.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I have that. I haven't watched it yet. I didn't want to review it yet without watching it, but I haven't watched it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I
because I
saw it.
like,
And I mean, like, go ahead.
I was going to say I liked that one Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I thought that was pretty hilarious back 20 years ago or whatever, almost 20 years ago. I thought that was hilarious back then. So I don't know what the new one might be, but so.
Well, if you now, I know you're not a big. I think if I heard you correctly in the past, are you a real big horror movie fan?
Probably middle of the road kind of. I mean, I do, but I'm not the most ultimate horror fan. You know what I mean? So
Okay. So you may know there's like an ongoing joke in the community, but to Rob Zombie, it's a real thing where he puts his wife in every movie, and she gets like a prominent role in every movie he's made from the get go. And I kind of feel
uh,
like Kevin Smith has went down that rabbit hole with his daughter ever since his daughter became like a late teen, early 20-year-old, gal. he puts her in a prominent role in the movie, each movie, it feels like. And so I feel like he makes all these movies now, and like the reboot, as I was saying, it's essentially a movie about her. And like, you know, Silent Bob and Jay just kind of like it's like a, you know, partnership of bringing her along, and she's now part of the group. And I don't want to give it away, but there's a reason for that. And you're just kind of like, okay. And you know, if you go back and watch, like I said, some of his movies leading up to that, she shows up in all these capacities. So I feel like she's like the Sherry Moon Zombie now of the Kevin Smith world, where if he's making a movie, she needs to have a prominent part in it. And she's not a good actress. I mean, you know, she's, I mean, serviceable, I guess, but it's not something I would say, let's build a movie around her. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he can get her. He can get her into the acting, the union, a little better that way, though. You know, give her. You know, what is it? The DGA is the Directors Guild of America, and the acting
SGA,
something like that.
Right.
So
So I mean, you know, and I mean, like I said, I'm not trying, and I just feel like at the end of the day, sometimes you bypass trying to come up with a creative story or a new story, or kind of, you know, stick with what you know to inject something that you feel obligated to or want to, but it doesn't make sense for the story. So SAG, the SAG.
SAG,
So Mike said, who's in the chat with us, he said that he thinks Clerks 2 is good, but it's not as good as the original, which I agree with. I think you would agree with as well. There's some hilarious parts in it, but Clerks 1 is definitely much better. The Screen Actors Guild, SAG, the SAG. That's what that girl, you know, what his daughter Harley Quinn Smith. I'm sure she's been in for, you know, he was doing, like, I think, I can't even remember what movie it was. It might have even been Clerks 2 that she's in, and she plays like a small role. And I'm sure that's all you need to do. I mean, if you're in a major motion picture, you just got to show up for like a couple minutes and you can get your SAG card. So But so anyway,
I was going to say before I forget, if you live in the Louisville area, they're going to have a mobile, temporary. I read this somewhere. There's going to be a Movies restaurant. It's going to be a temporary restaurant, and I don't know exactly how in depth this is going to be, but you can get photo ops, and I think it popped up on Google News or something. Some local stuff. It's supposed to be in Louisville at some point, but it's going to be the Movies restaurant that you see in the movies and stuff. So sometime this summer, so I don't know.
Well, let me know when you hear about it, because I definitely will probably come in town. I'm actually coming to town this weekend for a couple of days. Obviously, it won't be when Movies is there probably, but let me know. Keep me posted, because that'd be kind of cool. So Mike said this, which again goes back to what we were just talking about. She's supposed to be the main character in Clerks 3. She's going to be the one behind the register at the Quick Stop. There you go. So I'm a little bit concerned, because that means you don't have Dante and all of a sudden I spaced the guy Dante and who's the sidekick, who's the his real last name is Anderson. Last name's Anderson. Dante and shoot. Do you remember? I can't.
No, I'm drawing a blank. Also,
somebody, if Mike, you remember? I can't believe I forgot his name. But anyways, it's not the original two guys, or they're going to probably be apparently secondary characters to his daughter. So I don't know, man. Like, so anyways, we'll see how it shakes out, I guess, eventually. But
I mean, so for a while there, Kevin Smith was one of my favorite, you know, like current newer directors, and like he would put out something and I was always interested in it and stuff. But it's kind of changed. I mean, I'm not saying he's not doing good stuff now. He does, but he's also I've really enjoyed his his stand-up ones where he's done some monologues and the storytelling. I think he's done a couple of videos of those. Those are pretty decent, pretty good. So.
It's Randall. Thank you, Mike. Dante and Randall. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Randall. Yeah.
Okay. And I agree with you too. I like his stand-up, you know. But the thing is, again, you know, what kind of goes back to what you said. He had a lot more, I think, of an edge and a bite years ago. I think also I don't want to go down this path, but I think he's I think everybody who's ever said anything that could be now construed as, you know, not the not the
Politically correct.
politically correct mindset of today has all been silenced. Either they're self silencing, they're self editing, or they're afraid they're going to be. So they don't say stuff because I agree with you. You know, his character and then him as a person were very much one and the same in a lot of ways, and they would say all kinds of outrageous stuff. But I don't know if you would get away with that nowadays. I'm sure it's very, very vanilla
Yeah.
in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, not to offend
Yeah.
people. Because I mean, if you go back, I mean, think about it. When Clerks 2 came out, that was about what, 12, 13 years ago. I mean, you have a bunch of white people saying inappropriate things in that movie as a joke, and I don't think that joke would fly today in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think you won't see that much in the future. So
yeah, the edge, like nobody can be edgy anymore just for the sake of humor. I don't know. People can't laugh anymore. It's so sad. As rough as our times we live in, more or less, it's like, man, we need to laugh again. People need to laugh and not be so serious.
I completely agree, 100%. And it is unbelievable, but it is what it is. So, but I think you'll see a lot of that. So it'll be interesting because, like I said, Clerks 2 came out no more than 10, 12, 13 years ago. And I don't think they're making fun of Anne Frank. They're making fun of Helen Keller. They're making fun of all kinds of people. They're obviously alluding to a lot of sexuality type issues. I don't know if that stuff gets played in 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely see how that kind of shakes out. So yeah, I guess we'll figure it out. Yeah, Mike says people take everything to heart as if you're talking personally about them, and that's exactly it. People can't separate the art from the artist, or their observations if it's a comedian, from that. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for people. Well, it's not hard. People just choose not to. People, they understand what it is. They just don't care. Hey, what up, Henry? So I showed you a movie I picked up recently or something I wanted. Do you have anything that I know you hit up a Dollar Tree not too long ago or Dollar General?
Yeah.
I mean, either you watched something or something you watched for the first time. Anything new in your world?
Well, I was going to see if I got it near me here, but this is something I got today. I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know if you can see that though. It's the Mission.
Oh, nice. That soundtrack's amazing. I love The Mission.
Yeah, with Robert De Niro. Yeah, it's got that Morricone score, which is really cool. Yeah, I haven't seen this like on DVD. I've only had a laser disc of it. That's the only. I don't even have the laser disc anymore, but so I'm kind of looking forward to that. See that because it's got a great soundtrack. Yeah,
man, I know that sound. Talking about movies that not talking about like a pop culture soundtrack, but a movie that is made by the soundtrack and the soundtrack makes the movie. I feel like The Mission's one of those movies. I mean, there's a handful like The Last of the Mohicans that has an amazing soundtrack. I feel like you just feel like so much just like caught up in it. The movie Silence by Martin Scorsese, where the missionaries in Japan, that has a very epic score as well. So there's a handful of films that has a score that just like really draws you in. I also feel like the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, he also Daniel Day-Lewis is in it. Gangs of New York has
Gangs of New York.
That has another very strong.
Yeah, rousing scores.
Yeah, like when they come out, like Butcher Bill and like the Priest Hallam comes out at the beginning of the movie. And you have that music and the drums are going and you see them coming through the alleys and through the houses to like get ready to battle, man, that like just, and I didn't even know what was going to happen. I just felt so much just like, here we go. It's like, we're in a fight, I was invested in the first 5 minutes.
Well, think about those scenes with a different score. I mean, it has to have some music to kind of get you pumped up and introduce each one, I mean, that movie would fall on its face if it didn't have a great score, just
right.
But
and I agree, Mike. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure has a great soundtrack, without a doubt. Love that soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, and like soundtracks that have like a pop culture type soundtrack. There's a lot of those out there. I agree, but Bill and Ted's a great one. He also, and I have only seen this movie once or twice. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's been years ago. But Dee Snider's Strangeland, he said, has an amazing
Oh
soundtrack. Have you ever seen
yeah.
Strangeland?
No, I've known about it for many years. I've never got to see it. I know it's always been kind of a cult classic movie. You know, it's always
Yeah.
be on somebody's list, but I've never been
Yeah,
able to find it.
yeah, it's a hard one to find. It used to be pretty readily available. Like I feel like I ran into it a lot in the wild, and I would say over the last 5 or 6 years, I don't see it ever anymore. So I don't know if it just dried up. Everybody's got them. You know, it's hard to find. I don't think it ever got a Blu-ray release. Maybe it has, but I don't ever remember seeing it. So yeah,
I don't know. I'll
I need to
check
go
into
back and
that.
watch it, Mike, because I haven't seen it since it came out. Probably what 2002, three, maybe. I don't know, but I haven't seen it
Oh,
forever.
it seems like it came out before then. It seemed like it
It
came out
maybe was like late '90s. I
in
can't remember, but
I
it
think it was late
wasn't.
'90s.
It may be, but I know it was. I know it's like either 20 years now or more.
Hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so,
It's definitely been a few
so,
yees.
so you picked up The
Uh,
Mission, fantastic movie, Robert De Niro, like you said. Who directed that? I can't remember.
a guy named Roland Joffe.
Roland Joffe. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
Mike said
sure
it.
if
Mike said the Strangeland came out in 2000.
2000. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I
So
thought it
we were,
was. It
we were
was
like,
some.
you and I split the middle. I said early 2000. You said late 90s, and it was 2000 exactly.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah.
was weird. It was weird because it was like you hadn't heard from Dee Snider in so many years, and all of a sudden he came out with a movie, and it was like, wow, okay,
It was kind of weird because Dee Snider was obviously famous for Twisted Sister in the 80s. You know, maybe you can even say early 90s was still kind of quasi relevant. And then like you hadn't heard anything from him forever. I mean, he still was, I guess, touring with Twisted Sister, right? And then he did this
yeah,
movie, and then in the horror community, I guess because he was a rock star, they gave this guy
yeah,
so much like he ended up like working and doing things with Fangoria, and then he ended up having like a horror talk radio show like out of LA. And I'm like, what? Who is this
yeah,
guy, dude? Like he made
yeah,
one movie, it was okay, and all of a sudden he's
yeah,
like the like everybody's answer to horror movies, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's way better people to pick and shoot to the moon than Dee Snider.
yeah. Yeah, he well, if you get a chance, I don't know, I think it was on Netflix, but there was a documentary on Twisted Sister, which is pretty good.
Uh
No,
huh.
this was a few, I think it was probably a few years now. It's probably not on there now, but I saw one. I should say that I saw a good documentary about Twisted Sister, so
I
it's
have to
pretty
check it
cool.
out. Yeah, I love documentaries. I actually just released a video right before you and I went live talking about film documentaries is one of my favorite things, of showing
Oh
off a
yeah.
handful. So, Mike
Okay.
said that he also had a cameo on Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I forgot. That's true.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Oh man. So I have a movie I also picked up recently at a pawn shop about maybe 2 3 weeks ago, and I hadn't thought about this movie forever. I'd only seen it on VHS. I mean, I'll probably watch it like on HBO or whatever back in the day. But it's probably my for my money, Michael Douglas's best movie ever. And it was cool when I went back to watch the commentary and then like the behind the scenes and like just interviews. Michael Douglas himself has said this is probably his favorite movie he's ever done, and that made me feel really good because it's really completely different than anything he's ever done before and since. And it is the movie Black Rain.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a good
it's
movie.
such a good movie. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah, that's really good. I have it on Laserdisc. I need to
And
I need to
I
upgrade
never.
it, but
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're fine. No, it's a great mashup of the New York cop in Japan or vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
or forgot how that went. Yeah,
Yes, you're right. Yeah, yeah. They go to Osaka, I believe, but like you said, it's
yeah,
Japan, and then you're. But Andy Garcia. I mean, this movie's been out for 30 something years, so I'm gonna go tell. I think when people watch this for the first time, was so shocked that he ends up dying in the middle of the movie.
Hmm.
No one saw
Yeah.
that coming, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's one of the very first movies I remember watching as a young person that one of the major stars, gets taken out in the middle of the movie. Like, that's
Mm.
very not Hollywood for the most part.
Yeah.
And of course it makes you invest in the movie even more, and in the character that Michael Douglas plays, because now there's a whole other layer that wasn't there prior to that you're putting on there. But
Yeah.
this is such a great movie, and you never hear people talk about this movie anymore. And I mean, at least I don't. I don't know if anybody's talking about this, but it's. I don't know if it was ever a DVD release, but I remember having the VHS back in the day. So when I saw this at the
Hmm.
pawn shop for $1, I was like, I'm definitely picking this up.
Oh yeah, that's a good deal for $1. Yeah, that's definitely worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And then the cool thing is, I'm sure you can't see it, but there is like a crap ton of special features too. So I mean, you have
Hmm.
a ton of stuff. And when I was a kid, I didn't recognize this, but do you know who the director of this movie is?
Oh,
Super famous,
no, I can't think
Ridley
of it.
Scott.
Oh yeah, Ridley. Okay, I can see
I
that
know, and
now.
I was like, the same guy who did Legend and Aliens, and
Hmm.
just so many great movies. He did this movie, and Ridley Scott talks about how much he loved this movie. Blade Runner, things like that. And it has a very Blade Runner feel to it, by the way. I feel like too, with
Yeah.
the way he shoots it. Um,
Yeah.
but he talks about this movie, and I thought it was he had a good observation. Like, he shot Blade Runner, of course, in the early '80s, and it had a very Asian feel to it. And so he was thrilled to actually shoot in Japan, where a lot of his inspiration came from. And
Hmm.
I mean, that movie's. I mean, like I said, I could talk about Blade Runner. I'm sorry, Black Rain for a long time, but
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you're a fan of the movie as well, because you don't hear too many people talk about it.
Yeah. It kind of fell between the things, like with Ridley Scott, when people talk about him, it's kind of they don't really bring that up. They'll bring aliens up and
Mm-hmm.
maybe Legend or something like that, but they kind of skip around, and that unfortunately falls in a crack there somewhere. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great
and
movie.
it's a great movie. Yeah, and I mean, just watching and listening to the commentary and the special features, it made me like the film even more. Like, there was so much
Hmm.
this I don't know, like, so much depth to it that you don't really maybe even notice the first go around, and then hearing them
Yeah.
talk more about it kind of gives you a little bit more appreciation of the film. But yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to show that, because I think if you watch this video later on, like in a replay version, you're not watching it live. So I know there's only a handful of
Hmm.
people watching right now. But if you come back and watch myself and Mike talk about it, definitely let me know what you think about Black Rain, guys, because I'm 100% interested to see what people think.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
here.
That's
Here somebody said here. This is pretty funny. Henry goes, "I thought you were going to show Romancing the Stone."
yeah.
That's another great Michael Douglas flick. I do like that movie. A lot of
Yeah.
people kind of crap on that movie, but I really do like that movie quite a bit. I don't know how you feel about
Yeah.
Romance of the Stone, but I do like that.
Yeah. I
So,
picked it up. I think for Christmas I got it. It was like a stocking stuffer and stuff, and I grew
yeah,
up with that. It was on HBO, and Jewel of the Nile, the
yes,
second one, was always on HBO, and
yeah. I mean,
I
you
enjoyed
can't
them
go
as a
wrong,
kid.
dude. Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, and Michael Douglas. I mean, that's a winning combo.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a big blockbuster. Yeah, great
So,
soundtracks and stuff.
mhm. So Mike mentioned, and I'll ask you this question. The other Mike, he asked, "What do you guys think about the next Avatar movie? Will it be good as the first?" So James Cameron working on Avatar. I honestly can tell you, Mike, that I have not really seen Avatar all the way through the original, so I'm probably not the best person to ask this. So I'll defer to you. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen it. I've actually rode the ride down in Disney World, which is pretty really cool ride actually. But I don't know. I mean, that came out when, uh, gosh, when did that come out? Oh 08,
2009.
2009. Okay. So I don't know. It's a lot of stuff's changed in 10 years, or 12 almost time it comes out.
Sure.
But I don't know. That's going to be, I don't know. It's probably going to be another blow you away in technology. So it may be better than the first one as far as visually, because he's always he's always at the top of his game with visuals and
Mhm.
sound and all that stuff and effects. So I
Right.
don't know. That'd be really cool. Definitely check that out when it comes out.
So let me ask you this because I know, like you just alluded to it. So there is movies that there are movies that you and I will go to because of a certain director or a certain maybe actor or a certain subject matter that really brings you to the movie. You're very interested in what it is that's getting ready to be on screen. And then there are movies that are events, like the Avatar movie, like a superhero movie. It's an event.
Hmm.
So the movie might be complete garbage, we don't know, but because of all the bells and whistles and technology and first time ever on, film or whatever, it gets butts in the seats. Like
Hmm.
3D technology there for a while was getting huge again. It goes like it ebbs and flows, and all this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, so with that, I'm not as impressed with like technology based movies that are showing you something for the first time. Um,
Hmm.
how much does that play into you going to spend your hard earned money into maybe, I don't want to say a gimmick type of movie, but a movie that's supposed to be like blowing the doors off of what we know of technology, and
Hmm.
how much of that gets you in, or how much of that affects the way you go to the cinema, or does it affect it at all?
Yeah. Well, for me, it really doesn't really get me in there. I mean, apart from some of the movies that were going to be released on like IMAX in the past, like
Right.
I think Christopher Nolan had some IMAX, was going to release stuff in IMAX. I wanted to see those. Now that's a whole new form, a different format and all that. But other than that, not really. I mean, I really want to see the story, or if
Right.
it's a new character, or the character you've already known. Of course, you're going to see it and stuff. So
Yeah.
not really for me. I mean, just depends, really, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, the only time
but
I can think of in the recent years, and it kind of goes backwards really more than forward, is that when Tarantino released Hateful Eight in 70 millimeter, and it only was in like a handful of theaters throughout the United States who still had that technology, if you, for lack of a better
yeah,
word.
yeah,
And I wanted to see it in 70 millimeters. So for me, it was something I really wanted to go see. Now, unfortunately, I think the closest place was like Chicago. So I was unable to make it because it wasn't like realistic for me to go.
yeah. It
But
was
like
in Nashville.
that would have got me out of that would have got me out of my house to go see a movie. Even if it wasn't Tarantino,
Yeah,
I want to see it that way.
yeah.
I know in Louisville, I don't know. Louisville used to. I know with Baxter Avenue Theaters, but up in Indianapolis, there's a place in Franklin, Indiana, called the Art Craft that specializes in 35 millimeter films, and
Hmm.
so it's about an hour from my house, roughly south, because I live up northeast of Indy now, and so it's an hour south, and I'll go there a couple of times a year easily, if not more, to go catch a film in the original release of 35 millimeter,
Oh
movies
wow.
that I've never
That.
have seen, and so that stuff gets me excited. But like modern day technology, and I'm not trying. And Mike, I appreciate the question, but modern day technology when it comes like Avatar or like 3D or this that, it has to be more than just the visual aspect of it to get me excited about spending the extra money to go see a film.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I went to Nashville to see the Hateful Eight. I was one of those.
Mm,
I drove down there. I just had to see it and everything, and it was pretty cool. They gave you a booklet and everything, just like the road
yes.
show used to do, and
Mm-hmm.
they. Yeah, I remember leaving. They had a lot of them left over, and they were just like. And what they did was they had one for each member of the people in there. So they had 8 different booklets, souvenir booklets. So I ended up grabbing a couple of different members of the people. I didn't get all 8, but I got like 4. But I thought it was really
That's
cool
cool.
to see it. In Nashville. It was about 2 hour drive from my
Sure.
house and so. But hey,
That is cool.
yeah,
And again, to just finish up, we'll just put a kind of a period at the end of the sentence, Mike. And Mike said visual effects don't really do it for him. He had extremely limited vision. So stories are no good. So if the story's no good, I'm not interested. And that's kind of what me and Mike have been saying. We want to go see a good story. If it has all the bells and whistles of modern technology, that's fine. I'll go watch it too. Like, I'm not at
mm-hmm,
all poo-pooing on the technology. It just takes more than me to go throw on some 3D glasses to get me in the butt of the seat. Like I need more than just that to get me in there. If anything, I'm like we're talking about, I'm more backwards. I'd rather see in the original, print a lot of the 80s and 90s or even 50s and 60s and 70s films or whatever. And that's the one good thing about the Art Craft Theater in Franklin, Indiana, is that they have all kinds of stuff they show. So it's, 1 month it could be comedies or musicals. The next month is horror and sci-fi. Then it goes into like 50s comedies. I mean, it's everything. So whatever you're into, just be patient. You can get there. And they'll probably show it. And they have themes. Like they have Hitchcock weekends where it's like they'll show 6 or 7 of his movies in 35 millimeter, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll have to look that place up.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the link when we get off of here, and then maybe we can coordinate a time and come. You can come up and we can make a weekend of it or make a day or whatever, because it's like on a town square. It's like very the Majestic. You remember the Majestic or Matinee?
Yeah,
it has that. Matinee, it's 100% that vibe.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I wish Louisville had that still.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville used to have the Vogue. We talked about that, and Baxter Avenue kind of had that a little bit, but they do that with like midnight screenings. And generally speaking, it's more, subversive film and horror related than like your run of the mill like good old 50s, movie or whatever, good old 70s movie. It's more like horror, which is fine, so cool, but I feel like it's a little bit more like single. Tunnel vision, at least what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I still follow Baxter Avenue on on Facebook.
Yeah.
So is there any movies that are coming out this year now that theaters are opening back up that you do want to kind of try to see in the theater? Something that you're like, man, I really want to try to make it.
Well, I'm still waiting to see the James Bond, and what did we go see? We saw something the other day, a couple weekends ago.
Have you seen Black Widow yet?
No, I've heard different stuff about it. I don't know. My son's got Disney Plus, so it's like more than likely it would be on there. So I don't know. I've heard different stuff about it, so I don't know. We might miss it.
I'm not watching. Go ahead.
I was going to say it. To go see a movie, it's going to cost you. If you take a family of 4, for example, it's going to run you $100 easily with ticket and popcorn, etc. But so it has to be something pretty decent to get you in there. So I don't know.
I agree with you. You gotta sell some plasma before you go to a movie nowadays.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's a few I can't think of them right off. I get a brain fart every time.
Yeah, well, I'll see you later, Mike. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you contributing. Hey, what up, Don? Harry wanted to ask her, you gonna go watch the new Jungle Cruise movie?
Jungle
Cruise
for me
will be a no. So
no, probably not.
See you, Don. For sure. But yeah, I mean, for me, I agree with you. Like nowadays, to get me in the theater, there has to be a specific reason for me to go to the theater nowadays. Honestly, like I have to it's going to be director related, or maybe actor related, or maybe again subject matter related. Something that I'm interested in, a specific type of film that's being out there. I used to be a big superhero fan, but I feel like unfortunately I've rode that wave as far as it can go, because I feel like all the movies have been pushed into promoting political and social issues instead of being about superhero movies now. So I don't really want to spend my money watching that. Unfortunately, I'm sure I'll eventually catch it, like you were saying, like on a streaming service, or I'll pick the DVD up or Blu-ray for like $1 down the road or whatever. But I don't really feel like we talked about going to see a movie end up being like a $30-$40 experience, and then and then the whole time they're trying to indoctrinate me with a certain type of view of whatever the world they would think should be. So kind of moving away from all that. The last movie I think I went to was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino in 2019. I think that's probably the last movie I went to, if I'm not so.
Yeah. I missed
Trying to
that
think.
one in the theater. I usually had seen his last bunch of movies in the theater, and then they're always a really cool theater experience, with
Yeah.
the audience and everything. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I missed
I
that
think
one.
I've seen. I think I could be wrong. I think I've seen every single Quentin Tarantino movies in the theater since
Yeah.
1992 or 94, whenever Reservoir Dogs first came
Oh wow,
out.
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a track record going of him, and I think Kevin Smith, like all his like Hollywood type based movies. I think I've seen them all in the theater. Um, Unfortunately, I have to say I think like the Hollywood based ones also Eli Roth. Unfortunately, I saw the Green
Yeah.
Inferno. No one saw that in the theater. That was in the theater for like 2 seconds, and I
Yeah.
caught it. I was like, no one's ever gonna make another cannibal film ever in American cinema. I gotta say, I
Yeah.
saw a cannibal film in the theater because that's so grindhouse. That's so
Yeah.
1970s and 80s that you
Yeah.
can say you went to like New York or Chicago and saw a cannibal movie, and I'm like,
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to do that in modern day. And so I was like, when I saw that he did the Green Inferno, I was like, that movie is going to be absolutely garbage. But I'm going to go see it so I can tell my grandkids I saw a cannibal movie in the theaters back in 2017 or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
So, and it was
Yeah.
garbage, as I said. So,
Well, he's definitely a pupil of Tarantino. He's
oh, for
definitely
sure.
and stuff. So I don't know. He's done some pretty cool stuff. Um, but yeah, I think I started seeing Tarantino started back with Kill Bill. I don't know, for some reason my local theater used to be just kind of picky, and sometimes they just didn't get his releases in, and then with Kill Bill, and I started going that direction here, so up, down, whatever direction. So, but
Sure.
yeah, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, to get in, I don't know, like with comic book movies, it's just, I mean, my kids were really into them and stuff, and now I think even they're getting to the point where they're just like, well, do I really want to go see this? I can see this online now, or they're growing out of some of it. So they need to kind of tighten up their kind of move away from all that crap that's they're starting to go towards now, like you were talking about and stuff.
Right.
But who knows? I
Well,
doubt it. I doubt it will though.
Well, my son, who's 12, will be 13 this year. To your point about your kids, he doesn't even pay any attention to like that type of stuff. Like, we maybe because we're adults and we're a little bit more like consume news or especially cinema news or whatever. My son has
Hmm.
no interest in that, and he used to be all about, like you said, superhero movies. And I asked him,
Hmm.
"Hey, do you want to go see Black Widow?" And he's like, "Nope." Like I feel like there is either an exhaustion for young people now. They've just been exhausted with superhero movies to a point, or they just don't feel like the movies are as entertaining as they were. I feel like
Yeah.
they're like I said, like a lot. I think people can pick up on like when you're pushing something on people, they just want to be entertained, and you're pushing something on them. Like people notice that even if they're not
Hmm.
directly having their antennas up. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not looking to be
Yeah.
offended, or they're not looking to find some kind of social message. People to start realizing like this movie just feels different. Like I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel
Hmm.
like it was in the past. And I think
Yeah.
I think people just pick up on it, even kids. So like I said,
Well,
I'm like,
even
hey, you want to go see this? He's like, nope. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'll eventually
yeah.
catch it, I'm sure, but it won't be anytime soon.
Well, even when they
So
had this story with the Civil War story going, like, and they kind of had the parts 1 and 2, and they had a good story. They had
yeah,
moms, dads, kids, everybody kind of into the story, and it wasn't so much about this or that, but it was based on the characters. We were consumed about the characters, like what's going to happen, and that was pretty cool. It kept coming back to the theater, and everybody was interested and stuff. And I haven't really. I doubt they'll ever get to that point again, because I think they're starting to kind of get these other characters out. Like Iron Man has supposedly retired, and Black Widow's going away, and so I don't know. I don't know where that
yeah.
franchise is going to, but
It'll be interesting to see what direction they go because they have 20 different projects going right now. It feels like with all kinds of plates spinning. So it'll be interesting to see what might be a hit, what might be misses. You know,
Yeah.
if all of them are going to be misses, all of them are going to be huge hits. You know, we'll just kind of see where we go. I think that when you go away from the source material and you start kind of just Hollywood everything up, that's when you run into danger zone. And doesn't mean superhero movies. It could be anything. We all know that
Yeah.
when you move away from the actual story and into I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but like you're making something as a vehicle to get a point across that sometimes loses people. So I guess the
Yeah.
time will tell to be quite honest. So what
Yeah.
about I was going to ask you, you said you picked up some movies recently, but have you got anything coming to you that you've got either through a sale or some kind of promotion or any kind of eBay
Yeah.
pickups recently or Amazon, anything like that you have coming down the
Yeah.
pike that you're excited about?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I got a pre-order. It's supposed to be out next week, I think. It's a from Arrow. It's a spaghetti western box. It's like a 5 film box about vengeance, kind of revenge tales and stuff. So it's looking forward to that because I've only seen one of the movies on there, so 4 of them are going to be brand new to me, and it's loaded with special stuff. So I can't wait for that. So
That's
that's about the
awesome.
only thing I got pre-ordered. Kind of I've kind of took a break a little bit. I may buy a few more movies with the Criterion sale before it's over with, but I'm kind of just I think I'm kind of coasting right now because I'm pretty good. I got some stuff to watch and do videos about. So
That's good. So I know that you did a video where you went to the like Barnes and Noble and hit up the Criterion cell. Have you watched most of those films yet, or no?
uh, I've watched one. I've
Okay.
I've only watched one out of those. I think I've got 5 or 6 I've bought this July, and I've only watched one. I've been in the process of watching some old Audie Murphy westerns of all things
Hmm.
because I'm gonna do a big video on that. So, but yeah, I've been kind of busy with that and stuff. So
So let me ask you this, because this might be a hot take, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it, because I know you talk about it. I know there's a ton of channels who really talk about the Criterion movies and make a big production about their releases and try and get them all or whatever. But I have found, me personally, that there's a whole lot of smoke, not a lot of fire in some of those releases. Like, like I'm sometimes they're like maybe too artsy fartsy for me or too high level thinking or whatever you might want to say, or they think they
yeah,
are. And some of them are like super ode or super like real like tunnel vision into some specific thing.
hmm
So I know sometimes it's cool to say I got such and such movie, like this, you know, Swedish film from 1918 that was only in this like native dialect from this tribal community who had a
yeah.
midget director, and it's super rare. And I'm like,
I'd
hmm,
watch that,
I don't
man.
really,
I'd buy
I don't
that.
get it. Right. So do you see some of that? I feel like there's a little bit of like pinkies out with people when they talk about Criterion stuff. Or what's your
I don't.
thought?
I don't know. Not so much. I mean, I kind of look for stuff like some of the stuff I've got were movies from the '70s, like neo noir, and I actually got some film noir, and there's a couple of different things I want to get. There's a documentary about Robert Crumb, who the
Mhm.
artist who did the Keep on
Right.
Trucking and stuff. I like to pick that documentary up. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like the Ingmar Bergman's and some of
Yeah.
the heavy foreign cinema from the past and stuff. And it's like, yeah,
Right.
I can pick and choose different ones. Some of them are really heavy. Some of them are overrated. Some of them are this, but I kind of pick and choose and find which one I want to see and stuff. I don't just buy it just to say, hey, I got a Criterion. But but
Right.
but yeah, you watch some of those videos and these people are going in there and you're kind of looking at them thinking, do they really watch those movies? It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like
I
for
think
the sake of
that's what.
well, I was going to say for the sake of a video, I'm not going to just go in there and buy a bunch of videos just to say, hey, look, I bought videos. It's like I come out with one. It's like, oh, that's what I did. I bought one
Right.
video. So,
Well, I
so I
think
don't
for
know,
me
man.
also, from and like that's the thing, and I don't know if you ever run into this, and I know sometimes if the price is right, I don't care what it is, I'll pick it up because I know I can flip it for money. You know what I'm saying? But if it's if the price isn't right, and I like you said, do I really want to get this really obscure or like super specialized film from Igmar Bergman or whatever, just so I can say I have it and pay the 20 or 30 bucks or whatever for it? Or can I just pass on it and be like, I'd rather go get the Royal Tenenbaums, on Criterion, So like for
Yeah.
me, it's like, to me, it's like, what am I going to spend my money on that I'm actually going to really watch and enjoy, or I think I'm going to enjoy, right? So the perfect example of this is that nowhere. I'm not saying this is not Criterion by any stretch. So I go to this pawn shop. Hey, what up, Wes? So I go to this pawn shop down the street from my house. When I hit up a lot recently, and I go in there, and I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it's pretty pretty what's the word? I think it's pretty rare to find on DVD. I don't know if there's ever been released on Blu-ray or 4K. It definitely was hard to find because of the subject matter. But the movie came out probably like 2003 or four, I believe, maybe earlier. It's called Brown Bunny. Have you ever seen that or know about
I've
it?
never seen it. I know about it. I've never seen it though.
Right. So I found that in the wild. Okay, that was just like in a pawn shop a couple of weeks ago. I was in there and I'm like, I can't believe I found this movie because it's really rare to find. It's basically should be in the adult section of a movie in a theater or a DVD place or whatever because of some of the subject matter in there. But I got it for $1. But I would never normally buy that film because I have no interest in that film. But when I looked it up online, that film's going for like between $30 and $50 on used. So I was like, yes, please. And I'm gonna turn around and just resell it. But there are opportunities like that out there for those kind of films. But for me, I'm not. It was $1, so that my whole point was that it's $1, so I don't mind taking a chance on it. Whereas I'm doing like Severin or Anchor Bay, not Anchor Bay, but like Arrow or Scream Factory. Like I don't know if I want to take as big of chances on films I'm not familiar with to have it blow up in my face because it can get expensive real fast.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, that's definitely worth it. If I found that because I was watching a movie, the guy that's in that Vincent D'Onofrio or something like it. He was in a movie called what was it with Christina Ricci before that. I can't think of it.
Prozac Nation.
No, it was gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Buffalo something.
Yeah, Buffalo 66. Yeah, Buffalo 66. I got that. Like I bought it. I got it really cheap, and I watched it. And I was like, yeah, it's not bad, but it's like I don't think I'm gonna rewatch it. So it goes to that. So I'm glad I didn't pay a bunch of money for it. So
sure.
in that exactly what you're talking about, but same guy, same movie.
Yeah. I mean, like honestly, I watched the movie I just fast forward the movie just to see what if it was more than just that scene in the movie, because I'm not gonna get too graphic about it, but if you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like the whole reason that movie feel like it even existed is because you have two quasi-famous actresses engaging in a performance that's for basically adult viewing only. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't need to watch that scene. I could, that doesn't do nothing for me. What's the movie about? And like literally it's just him driving around in his like creepy like child predator van all over the United States, and it has like this whole like 1990s grainy feel, like it's kind of like this real grainy look. It's kind of like Truth and Consequences, New Mexico. If you've seen that movie, it has that vibe of like deserts and like open spaces. He's going through like America, and he shows up in these like hillbilly redneck towns and like with these people like they're like just normal everyday people. He literally walks into like my house and just starts a conversation with me and then like leaves. And just like just normal people, like they're not famous people, they're not anybody you would recognize. Just like it kind of has that vibe. You ever seen the movie Kids? That was done by Larry Clark. It feels like he ripped off Kids, but like did his own thing. It was just like he just put a camera in front of a bunch of strangers, had a couple quasi-professional actors in there, and just filmed people talking about nonsense. And then it shows him just driving around in his van. And I'm like, no wonder this movie, like no one talks about this movie because there's nothing to talk about. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah. Well, I remember when that came out, and it was so much. It was so controversial because of the scenes and everything. But then it just basically disappeared after that because everybody knew the movie sucked. You know.
Right.
It was horrible. So it kind of faded into obscurity. You know. So.
As did he. Really, I don't think I ever really remember him showing up in anything. Now, Chloe Savante, she's been in tons of stuff since then. I mean, she did Big Love. It was on HBO TV show. She also shows up in like American Horror Story. She was in a couple of seasons of that. So I mean, she still was very. I'm sure she's been in other movies. I know that for a fact over the years. So she's still very active in Hollywood. So shockingly, that didn't really ruin her career, even though you think it probably kind of could have. But for Vincent Giallo or whatever how you pronounce it. It definitely didn't seem like it helped him in any capacity. So,
no. I guess he doesn't have to work. Maybe people are not interested in him. I don't know. He was just.
I feel like it was definitely a huge miss, and no, it wasn't even like a bunt. It can't even say it's a hit. It wasn't even a bunt. It was like it was definitely awkward. So, but anyways, man, you said about an hour, so I want to respect your time.
Yeah.
You want to hop off here?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna jump off, but thanks for having me and everything.
Man.
Good time talking.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again maybe in a couple weeks or whenever we both can get free or whatnot. But it was always a good time to talk movies and just chit chat about what's going on in the film world for us. But man, if you all haven't, but go check out Mike's channel. Mike, can you give everybody where they can find you on YouTube?
Oh yeah. We can look for my channel. It's what's Dag Films or Mike's DVDs, Blu-rays collection.
There you go, Dag Films, guys. And definitely check his channel out. He has a way better production value than my channel, that's for sure. He does a little bit more. He does a little bit more bells and whistles, and he's a lot more knowledgeable than myself. But definitely check out his stuff. He's worth. If you like film, he's definitely a guy to watch. So. I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to hop on here. We'll do it again here down the road.
All right, man. Yep. See you guys.
All right, take care, brother. See ya. Bye now.
See ya.